All right, we are officially official. Okay, I'm taking a look. Was there anything else on the archive or on the agenda, Christopher, that you, other than what I sent in?
I'm going to check my email one more time here. Hold on here.
Sure.
But I don't remember receiving anything.
Okay. That wasn't what I intended to do. Okay, well, then what I've got for the agenda is all Koha business, but we can talk about Koha stuff too, especially after Christopher comes back and talks about his patch. I'm interested to hear. Okay, so the first thing is the update on the nonprofit foundation, and I don't think Chris Rode is here, but I did a little bit of searching around yesterday to kind of figure out what was going on, how exactly this all is going to work. And hi, Nick. I'm not 100% sure we need to be a 501c3. I think if we incorporate or become an association officially, we would have the ability to have a bank account and sign contracts as part of the organization. So that's the first thing I'd like to talk about is, are there any pressing reasons why we need a 501c3, which sounds like it is much more complicated. The Articles of Confederation, Incorporation, sorry. Let me share my screen real quickly. There we go. These are the notes that I took yesterday. The becoming a corporation or an association, the only thing I really am not sure what we'd have to do, we'd have to pick a state, essentially, to incorporate in. And then once that would give liability protection for the officers, directors, that kind of thing. It would also, like I said, give us a official entity that could set up a bank account, that kind of thing. The suggested language for the articles for corporations and associations is this part here. And basically what we have to do is fill that out and take it to whatever state agency we are incorporating within and file it. And that's pretty much, from what I can tell, that's a requirement to become a 501c3. We have to be either an association or a corporation. And then once we have that, then we can go, and there's a IRS form 1023, which is 29 pages long, apparently, that has to be filled out as part of the 501c3 request application. I'm not sure. On Christopher, did you get back any notification, any information about lawyers that might be in the group? Did anyone respond to that? Okay.
I thought we would have. I thought we would have, but we are talking to system librarians. Maybe that's why.
That's entirely possible. Yeah. Okay. Well, I found a foundation organization that does nothing but help organizations become 501c3 entities.
Okay.
I sent in a little request for information. They called me yesterday just as I was leaving, so I rescheduled to talk to them at 3 today because I thought after this meeting I'll know a little bit more about what we want to do and how we want to go forward. So with all that in mind, does anyone have any feelings about becoming a 501c3 or any preferences?
What's the benefit, I guess? It's non-taxing? Is that
It's
what
non-taxing. We wouldn't have to pay taxes on stuff we purchased, although here in Kansas, that's iffy. They're wanting to take that away. And then we would be able to accept donations. Is that the kind of thing we want to do?
Is our customer base likely to make donations?
I think our customer base is generally libraries that are not going to be, I mean, I can't imagine.
We have a development program, we could go and go out and look for philanthropy and things like that. It's true.
This is true. This is true. We could solicit donations for developments. Do we need to be 501c3 for that? Are people going to write that off their taxes? I mean, they could still donate to a corporation or an association, right? I don't know enough about this to.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, well.
I do know also how bad are taxes on something like this. Are we talking state tax or just federal tax?
Well, basically, we'd have to pay tax on what we buy. We wouldn't necessarily be a taxed entity, I don't think.
I think I see what you're saying.
But the 501c3 would just give us the ability to buy stuff tax-free.
Okay. Well, I can imagine that the biggest expense that we would have, the lion's share of the taxes, would be something like paying for a venue for a meeting. One of the general meetings we have. I'm not sure what Rebecca had to do. What the price was to negotiate with the venue out in Erie, Pennsylvania. But I thought it was kind of sizable, and I imagine that's what would take the biggest chunk of tax. I mean, buying goodies and stuff like that for a conference, or paying for meetings, virtual meeting space or something probably is not that expensive.
No, I don't think so. And from what I remember seeing of the contract from last year, if they charged us taxes, it was built into the prices. The prices that we did, I mean, we didn't have to pay extra over, and we bought all the food and everything through the hotel venue itself. So, and the prices we were charged was what we were charged. We didn't pay extra in taxes. So I just don't, I guess I'm wondering, I think we should probably go ahead and become a corporation or association, which brings up its own issues. We need a board of directors. We have officers right now, but not an official board. Crap, I forgot to hit that I'm not available. So we would have to do that. We'd probably have to draft some bylaws, which aren't necessary, but should probably be done. Basically, we'll have to grow up and become a real organization. It's essentially what we'll have to do. So I'm perfectly okay with just going ahead and starting on the corporations and associations. The one thing I don't think, California has some weird laws about, especially the 501c3 stuff. Like if you become a 501c3 there, it's not applicable federal. I forget exactly what I read. So I know Chris is from California. I have no idea what Kansas is one of those states that we can become we can incorporate in Kansas, and then that would transfer into a federal 501c3 with no problem. I didn't check Utah actually, Christopher. I'm sorry, but so basically we need to pick a state to incorporate in.
I see.
And my only suggestion is not California, but other than that.
Yeah, I'm told it's pretty hairy.
There were a lot of, except in California where you have to in all the directions, and it looked difficult. So.
Guys, I forgot about something that I was supposed to do downstairs. I have to go AFK for a moment. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem.
I will be back as soon as I can.
So does anybody have any suggestions? I mean, I'm 20 minutes from Topeka. I could run to do the filing if it's not all online. It probably is. but I'm open to if someone else wants to incorporate in their state. I'm just not sure how we want to do it. Nobody.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to input on that one. It's out of my league on that one.
All right. Well, I will look into if there are any weirdnesses in Kansas, and if there are no crazinesses like there were in California, I'll go ahead and incorporate us in Kansas. There are 3 of the 7 systems here in Kansas use koha, so I don't know. I just don't know what state would be best. So we'll pick Kansas because that's where I am.
Make it easy for you.
There you go. There you go. And Owen says Kansas it is, unless you can find a reason to change your mind. So I'll look into it, and then I will start working with Christopher on, because I think the document has to be signed by 2 people. So one of the Chris's, I'll get them to sign with me, and I'll get that process started. And then maybe next month we can talk. We have already talked about setting up bylaws, and it kind of got dropped. So maybe this is a good time to revisit that if we're going to incorporate or become an association, whichever.
Do you have examples from other groups or organizations of bylaws?
I think
Or if we looked at anything.
I think we found something. Jason, do you remember if they were in any of the minutes? Because you were writing up the minutes at that time.
I don't think we actually wrote anything into our notes. I just know that there was one meeting where we Googled some stuff and splashed it on the screen, but I don't know that there's any official notes on that.
Because we could probably find something really simple that somebody else has already established and just tweak it for ourselves and call it good. We don't have to reinvent a wheel.
Exactly. Okay.
Do we know of any user groups that are actually
incorporated?
in this?
I'm not sure. That would be a good thing to find out. I will see. Like, I don't know if the main Koha group, how they manage their conference. Honestly, they may be incorporated. They may not. I don't know.
The other thing too we could look into is you have a foundation with your library.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have this established with them?
They are a 501c3, so they will have had to have gone through the association process.
Or how about a friends of the library? Do you have that too?
Several of our libraries do. We don't, because we're not actually technically a library since we're a system. But lots of our libraries have them, and they would also have bylaws, probably online.
So they might be good resources to.
Okay.
They may be a little bit more involved because of what they do, but something to look at.
Okay, I'll take a look and see. Actually, I've got my colleague across the hall is working very closely with the foundation, our Nichols Foundation, right now, and so he would probably have their bylaws at hand. I'll grab those from him and see what. And Owen says there's no main Koha group as far as I know. I have no idea how they do the big Koha conference then.
I could check with our consortium too, see what they have, and
right. Get some examples of some bylaws to talk about at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of how we were. Owen said each conference host handles it themselves, and that's kind of how we were going. But last year it just did not work out quite that way. So hence the frantic, how do we handle money and all this, because we just had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking, if we're going to go the route through Kansas, whatever organizations that have done their stuff in Kansas, it's probably going to be the closest fit, because I don't know, if our bylaws are tuned to whatever our local laws are for us to have those statuses. So
that's a good point. So, all right, I'll find some examples.
Look at it.
Okay. I will find some examples and forward them onto the Kohana list for people to look at before the next meeting. So, and now that I've said that, I will make a note of it so that if I won't forget it in 5 minutes. Okay. I've lost you all now. There we go. All right. Let's see. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll let Chris know, Rhodey know what's going on, so he's in the loop.
We got too many Chris's.
I know.
Deal with that.
I know.
Health.
We're gonna have to start nicknaming some of you.
Nice nicknames, right?
That's right. The other thing on the agenda was that email that was sent out to the list about the U.S.-centric focus of Kohana.
I didn't catch that, and I feel bad that you caught a lot of heat on that, Robin, and I didn't express that. I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't. I was. Yeah. It indeed did say, U.S. libraries, and that's just not the case. It could be anybody in North America, really.
Yeah.
That's the question
Outside
too.
of the United States, but
That's the question too. Are we? I know we came into this with the mindset of U.S., but we took on a larger title.
Mm-hmm.
Are we specifically U.S. or are we North American user group? What are we going to be? And if so, do we want to consider refining our title before, applying for the 501 or whatever that is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this would be the time if we're going to make that change. I know that the name of the group was decided in Washington at that first conference.
Yeah.
I do not remember the details of why North America was chosen, if we were close enough to Canada, if there was somebody from Canada at that group. I don't seem to recall. I thought we were all U.S., but maybe.
I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So are we NACUG or Kohana or both?
No.
When I write correspondence, I just need to know. And then, of course, we might change if we're just U.S. I understand that, but.
I think, gosh, does anybody know what the...
We've been going with Kohana. Yeah, so the Koha North America Users Group. So that's what I've been seeing as chiefly using.
Okay. Yeah, and like you said, we need to pick a name and stick with it. Do we want to continue being North American? Part of the problem, and Chris mentioned this when we were emailing back and forth about that email exchange. He mentioned that if the meetings go outside the U.S., his library will not pay for them to go. And I know the last time my organization paid for someone to go out of the U.S. For a Koha conference was when we sent Liz to New Zealand, and she lives there now. So there's a little bit of well, we just sent this chick to a conference, and then she got a job and left. And so, I'm not sure how far my organization would send me either. So do we want to be, I don't know as I've ever had a, don't let New Zealand poach our citizens. Exactly. although, well, no, she's not the one I replaced, but So I guess the one I replaced moved to Philadelphia. That's fine. But
I do remember when I visited England, and it was just a 12-hour tour because we were actually, I'm a band. We went on a tour of Belgium in college, in the university, and I remember there's a guy I knew in England. He's like, "You came to sunny England and didn't visit me." And to him, I mean, if this were Europe, it would be a no-brainer. Of course, we're European, but there is one thing to consider, that Europe is a lot smaller, and that there are a lot of there's a lot of travel in between different countries that do not require
passports.
Yeah, for instance, passports, because you have a EU membership or something like that. However, I do have to say they are our neighbors. We might as well. In my opinion, we might as well. I know I might not be able to go to some, but c'est la vie, right? That just happens. And there might be some that our Canadian and Mexican and Central American neighbors might not be able to go to as well. But I think if we're all here in this, where we are here, let's call it North America. But that's my vote.
Okay.
I'm kind of a toss-up with that, because I do see the benefits of that, but also, I like the simplicity of, a smaller regional area. I'm not out to exclude anybody. In fact, I think we should openly welcome anybody from Canada or anywhere from around the world. I don't see us limiting ourselves to just, oh, you can't be in this group because you live outside the borders. But I think the primary goal was to have a smaller user group that was more easily accessible. And if we're going across borders, U.S. borders, I think it makes it more difficult. For that matter, do we include Alaska and Hawaii in this? I mean, it's like that would make it challenging. I think when we did this, it was continental U.S. that was mostly the focus, so that it was doable.
Geographically.
With that said, I would say there's nothing wrong with it being a U.S. group and just keeping it open to everybody, and we make sure that anything that goes out about it, we're still making it open to everybody, but it is it really is a continental U.S. user group that was the original intent from my understanding. And so I think we should make that clear. I think adding going across borders makes it complicated because you're dealing with passports, and the travel is more expensive, and we wanted to keep things reasonable. I can't go around the world to all the koha-cons. This was something that was doable. If it ends up going down to Mexico or up to Canada, then it becomes more of an issue.
Well, I want to ask, besides funding trips, are there any practical reasons to make it U.S. only? And I think you just outlined a few of them. Yeah.
I think if we keep it wide open like that in North America, and I think we open it up to where it's going to hurt people in the long run, to where they're not more consistently attending. We've had 2 good years where people are attending. If it traveled outside the U.S., I think that would hurt our consistency with our attendance base, and we really want to keep people plugged in and localized with that attendance. If so, I think it would be trouble.
Yes, but I do think that if we have it in outside of the United States, it might be 1 in 5 years, because most people are going to want it in the United States. I think 1 out of 5 years would be okay, but
like I said in my email, anyone is welcome to put in a hosting proposal. They're all voted on. And the chances of the membership right now voting to go out of the country are pretty slim. But Owen says, I think it's fine. We want to limit meetings to U.S. only if we want to. We just need to be explicit about the rules. Anyone can join, but we only meet in the U.S.
I thought of that too when Christopher Brannon was explaining that. That was one of the first thoughts I had was, well, let's be North America Koha users group, but let's say our meetings will always be in the United States, which is sort of like a double standard. I don't know. It depends on how how we deal with that, I guess. But
I think too, are there regional things that we're focusing on? Because I know that the way other countries are using Koha is not exactly the same way that we do. I know that they're more, I don't know, user focused. I think I heard it explained they're user focused. We're more materials focused. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that there are some differences, and it could be a regional thing that's driving us. I'm not sure.
I don't think we should call ourselves North America something if we won't meet outside the U.S., says Owen. And I think he's got a point.
Yeah, I agree.
I hate the thought of limiting. And we would have to make it really, really clear that our North American buddies, hell, our European buddies, are welcome to join us in our meetings, but we'll stick with United States geographical locations and issues. Because I think you're right, Christopher. I know like the Europeans have very different views on how the privacy stuff in Koha should work because of their more stringent privacy laws. I have no idea if Canada and Mexico, just to grab two of the other, our immediate neighbors, if they're that much different, but
I think if we do make the change to both the name and the region which we operate, we got to be very careful, and we got to be very clear that we're only changing this because of the focus and the ease of access to the group for the focus area that it was intended for, not because we're excluding anybody, but just trying to make a group that is easy for a region to attend.
so contiguous United States issues, user group for contiguous United States issues. Sounds like a commercial, but
yeah, and honestly, I'm sitting here thinking of the email list, and when we announced this, the responses after being accused of being exclusionary already, but that's no reason to not do something. And I'm old enough that I'm partially asbestos. I can take it.
Yeah, that just kind of threw me for a loop. It's like, really? We're gonna go there?
Apparently we were, but okay. So
no, I think in the future, yeah, we do need to be careful about how we post the invites and in wording. Just we want to make sure that we're not making anybody feel like they can't come or can't be there, but we have to make clear our intent, and I think we did cloud it up a little bit with the name, the North American Users Group. So it just sounded good at the time.
yeah, no, I remember being there, and I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember a lot of the discussion around the naming, but I do remember it was discussed. There was discussion happening.
And with all intents purposes, we are not a North American users group.
This is true.
We are
an American US.
So I do say we need to to change the name, make it clear, but be very open.
All
That's
right.
true. Whatever we do, we need to be consistent and clear about it. That's true.
Okay, so I know we don't usually do the formal, someone want to make a motion kind of thing, but
I'll make a motion. I make a motion. We change the name of the group to something more specific.
and then 1 second.
I'll second.
You're awesome.
All right, so Jason.
But it has to be catchy and cool. So.
Well, let's go ahead and vote on, and those of you who are on chat can vote through chat to accept the motion to change the name. All in favor? Say, I don't know how to do this on Zoom.
Say aye.
Aye.
Say aye.
I guess I seconded.
Next time you have to say it like a pirate.
Aye.
Aye. Owen says aye. I say aye. All right. I think the Nick, I know, is planning on not being a voting member, so he's just going to listen in now that he's a Bywater employee, just observing. So I'm not going to count him. And B. Johnson has showed up, but I haven't heard from him. So we'll say the ayes have it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, now that we've decided to change the name, what are we changing it to?
The best Koha user group.
How about US Geeks?
US Geeks. I like it.
How about koha-US? Our acronym can be CUS.
Okay, US. I like it. Now, whatever we do, I'll have to change the domain name. And I'm looking at the thing now. I was like, oh, our domain name is Kohana. So.
Johnson is Brooke. Aha. Hi, Brooke.
Oh, okay. Hi, Brooke. Wasn't sure who that was.
Welcome aboard.
Oh, no, that's Owen. Is it Brooke? It might be. I don't remember the.
I thought hers was BW Johnson.
Yeah, but who knows? Okay. Anyway. So choosing a name it's not my forte.
Why don't we table it until the next meeting and suggest our ideas? Maybe we could even pull an input on the listserv if you want to do that.
I like it.
Yep.
You want to do that?
Yes, please.
So basically just send out a invite for people to throw in their input and say, to address these issues and just.
And we want this to be. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We want this to be contiguous United States. Is that correct? Not Alaska and Hawaii.
I think they could certainly. I don't know, well, how about the group itself would include Alaska and Hawaii, but the locations that we have our meetings.
I don't know. I could really do for a trip to Hawaii.
I know, me too, but knowing my luck, we'd end up going to Alaska. So.
It's just you and the Hawaii people. I'm afraid.
Well, I do have a question. I was looking at the photographs from this last KohaCon, and I saw one white guy, and that was it. Did anybody else come from outside of the continent of Africa?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that too. It's like, I don't know if anybody outside of the region came.
And so I just wonder if it's, I don't know, too much of an issue that way. It seems like people will come if they really want to come. They'll come no matter what. But
I think I think when the voting happened, was before the state. Well, and I don't know if the State Department. It was probably the conference happened before the State Department's travel warnings. That just happened within the last. So yeah, I don't know. As I was thinking, maybe the State Department's travel warnings had something to do with it, but that was after the.
Ex post facto.
It was after the conference, so I don't know. And I know I'm not going to be able. Most of us, I think, would not be able to travel halfway across the world to attend international koha-con. It's just not something libraries can afford to do, and so maybe that was part of the issue. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm tending to think it is the people who really wanted to be there found a way to do it. I would think that would be the same with us. If there was one in Hawaii, or honestly, if there was one in Mexico City or something like that, if we wanted to go, we'd find a way to do it, that type of thing. So, and I don't know, Koha-Con still goes on even without, all of the North Americans and the Europeans and the Orientals who didn't come. It's still going on.
Yeah.
Surviving.
Completely true.
I'll try to think of some cute names for our group.
Excellent. Can seed the request with stuff like putting some.
Too, we don't have to have the name actually have like US in it or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that might be a saving grace for the group itself, in that we just establish the parameters of the group, but the name can be something more
doesn't
creative.
have to have North America or US in it at all.
True.
Yeah.
Especially if we just say, oh no, never mind, US Geeks won't work.
We can just call it Koha Geeks or whatever,
Koha Geeks.
Those nerds who use Koha. Hi, Nick.
Bye.
Okay. So, Christopher, if you want to send out that email.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. I think that covers the. Oh.
Robin, will you email me your notes that you shared your screen with, so that I can read through that and adequately, keep minutes on it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, you don't need that. I also took notes on what I need to do. So. All right. Well, that covers the agenda, I do believe. Anything else anybody wanted to bring up?
I think that was the pressing thing right there. We sent out an invite for the next conference, right? Had any responses yet?
One.
Okay.
One.
Yeah. So do we want to extend that?
When is the due date?
The 4th of this month.
Oh.
Yep.
So it's passed.
Yep.
Yeah, let's extend that. Who sent in the?
My library.
I see.
Uh-huh.
There were really 5, but
no, I intended to send in Lawrence too, and failed miserably. So
is Kansas going to put in?
We were planning on. Well, we've put in one. I think the last 3 years, and so we were just going to throw it out there again to have it here in Lawrence, but.
I'm gonna put the link on here, but how do we want to keep this private? Because I can make a link that anybody who is in the chat room can pick up, and I can publish it. Or do we want to keep this just between members?
The link to the.
Sorry, the results from the from the poll, not the poll, the survey?
Well, if it was just you guys, I mean, it's going to be made public.
Let's just wait till we get more responses.
All right. Well, we can. And again, it's because I screwed up here. If you guys want to extend it, that's fine. If not, the deadline has passed. And
I think it would probably be a good idea to extend it after today's discussion about just being in the U.S. because it seems like there were some hard feelings. So we need to have that clarification out there with the invitation.
okay. All righty. So we'll go ahead and extend it to
End of January? Or is that too
Our
long?
next meeting. I think end of January might be too long, but
might
Well,
be
End
just
of,
need
end of
to-
December?
We
When
need to be able. When our next meeting would be, usually it's what, the second Thursday of the month.
second Wednesday. That would be the 13th.
Yeah,
We said Wednesday because Chris Rohde scheduled.
right.
Birthday.
although he's not here, so
Chris.
that's okay. Okay, so the second Wednesday would be the 13th. When
So we
We're
could
still
close
working
it on
with-
the 8th. What do you
and
think
then
of that?
yeah, that would work. Give people, because I'm afraid the end of December we've already lost some people for Christmas vacations and things, or we're about to lose them. This will give them a few days after.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll write that down.
Okay. Yeah, and sending out a reminder to folks would be helpful because they're probably like me and just planked on it.
Okay, I'll send out that extension.
Okay.
Owen, what region are you in?
Ohio?
Have you guys considered submitting a proposal for hosting?
I'm told Ohio's great for libraries.
I saw that map.
Like I haven't heard that one before, guys.
Well, we hope that you would at least come to the next one. We missed you on the last two, the only two. I was really looking forward to seeing you at those.
Pennsylvania is not too far from Ohio. Yeah, that's Washington State was a little bit of a haul, but you know that's all right.
That's an Article 15, Owen. AWOL's Article 15. Better watch out.
That's all right. Okay.
I'm just joking. Just joking.
Is there anything else you need to bring up? Anything going on with Koha in your areas? Technical?
I was looking at there's a bug. No, I'm sorry. It's something up on Bywater's on their funding list, their funding site. But I guess it's a bug by now. But I haven't actually looked. But it was basically to sort of reward good behavior, and it basically takes the cron that goes around and let's see, how does it work? There's the cron that goes around and looks for, what does it do? Oh, I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry. It goes around and it looks for items that are overdue, and it sends you out a notice. It's over. I think it's that cron. But basically, excuse me, it will look and see if you're currently in the profile of, or not the profile, sorry, the patron category. I have to get my vocabulary correct here. So we'd have to make up some patron categories, and essentially, if you are in the 4 DVD category and you don't have any fines or overdues in the last month or something, then it bumps you up to the 8 DVDs patron category that you would make.
A reward system, huh?
It's sort of a reward system, or if you have bad behavior, we're going to bump you down to the amount of DVDs. Because right now we're having so many of our DVDs walking out the door and never returning.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we can, patrons can check out if they've been in the library longer, had a membership with the library longer than 4 months, then they can check out up to 24 DVDs, which
Wow.
when they don't return, that stacks up to $500 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought, well, let's bump it down to 4 or 8 or something like that. And then if there's good behavior, we'll bring it up higher. If you can show that you can be responsible and return things on time. So anyway, it's on there. We've pledged, I think, $1,000, maybe $1,500 to it. But if you're interested, take a look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
I would bring that up.
I have a question. You kind of spurred a thought with that topic. Do any of you guys utilize any kind of security with Koha with your items?
As far as like gates?
Yeah.
We have a few libraries that use gates, but most of our libraries don't have anything. They can't afford it.
We
Okay.
actually have one library that has RFID, but they don't have gates. They're not using. They're just using it to do self-check and automatic check-in. So yeah, I don't think we have any.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So what is your standard practices with your like DVD collections? Do you have your discs out in the cases? Do you have people trade in cases for what you have stored behind the desk, or what is your DVD collection condition? The reason I ask is because we've gone through different iterations. We've had security gates, and we decided we weren't going to do that anymore because the trade-off in costs of keeping things secured and just replacing discs was a trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
And then now then we had stuff in the discs themselves in carousels with just the cases out on the floor until we had too many discs that we didn't have enough room for the carousels. And now we have the discs in the cases on the floor, but now we have stuff walking out without being checked out. So we're I've never found a perfect solution. Our director doesn't want to have the boxes where you have to unlock them, and I'm sure that even if you had that, they'd still walk out and people would just break the cases or whatever. So
Can I take that?
yeah.
So we use RFID. We have a sorting machine, and we have tagged most of our discs. Well, all the videos with 1 or 2 discs, each disc has a tag on it. If there are 3 or more discs, the RFID is not reliable enough. The RFID tags are not reliable enough, even with the special, large Stingray tags for the discs. They're just not reliable enough, and so we just tag the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we have a lot of false positives too, and part of the reason we've reduced the amount of false positives by slicing the RFID tag on an item when it goes on the book sale, because a lot of our false positives were coming from the book sale and whatnot. But we still have false positives, and it's annoying and whatnot. And sometimes we have to shut off the gates, and basically reboot them, or just turn them off for the evening until Christopher comes back and fixes that type of thing. But we still have a problem with theft. But keep in mind, most of our theft is not shoplifting. Most of our theft is people not returning items.
Mm.
So we have a big problem with theft, but it's not because of shoplifting. And of course, if you get a foil bag, you can, fool the system anyway. And
Yeah.
Our libraries, about probably I'd say half and half do the disc behind the counter thing, and half do the discs out on the floor, and hope that their patrons don't steal them all. I know the disc behind the counter thing. A lot of directors complain about the staff time it takes.
Yeah, it does take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. But then they're not having so many discs walk out. The previous library I worked at, we had the locking cases, and I guess they were striped as well with a tattle stripe for our gates, because we would find those cases in the bathroom. Someone had broken them, taken the DVD, which was not tattle taped, with them, and the case would be laying there in the bathroom where they had
broken it.
Yeah. So it's one of those, people are gonna,
they're gonna steal no matter what, but that's true. No matter how hard, no matter how hard we try.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of the mindset right now that about the only way that would be reasonable to secure, this expensive media is to have a vending machine. But vending machines in themselves are spendy. I haven't seen a really reasonable, cost-effective solution yet.
Yeah, the last time I saw something like that, it was blooming $120,000.
Yeah. So basically, there's no real good solution. Sorry.
Owen says that he hasn't found it.
I did see, I don't know if it was a PLA conference or one of those library conferences. Somebody had developed a system, and I haven't found the system yet. I've lost track of it, but they developed a system. Basically, we have before we were using these little boxes. They held 150 discs, and you punch in a number, and it would eject the disc.
Mm-hmm.
We were using several of those at the desk. They were using those. They stacked them and hooked them up to a computer, and you had to check out the item, and then it would spit it out. And so it was basically a makeshift vending machine out of those carousels. And I cannot find that company, but I mean, I'm this close to attempting to do something like that myself, and through SIP, because I've been tinkering with our third-party self-check system and working on upgrades on that, and I've gotten to know SIP really well through all that, and I was thinking,
I'm sorry.
I could probably do something like that. If I could figure out how to talk to the carousels, I could probably figure something out like that. But yeah, it's been kind of a...
Well, that would be sort of the best of both worlds, because you're developing it, you know it really well, and you're saving the staff time. I think that's one of the big costs of doing, having any disc behind any desk, is because of the staff time that it takes, and then of course, wear and tear. You're taking these out of the sleeves and putting them back in the sleeves, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, and then you're not paying the $120,000 or whatever the price is, on an automated vending machine.
Yeah. I need to find out if Redbox retires any of their machines.
Purchase a used Redbox machine.
Yes.
I like it. All right.
That's a good project. I hope you tell us more about it if you decide to go with it.
I don't know. Right now, it's in a
It's in a think tank.
It's in a contemplative stage right now, but I could see it being doable. It would just take some research on talking to the carousels. That's the piece that I don't have right now.
That's really interesting. We do have a library that has those carousels. They've got like, trying to think, they're stacked 4 deep and probably 5 or 6 wide, the carousel machines.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it by alphabet, I think, because each of their carousels are labeled A through C, D through whatever. But that would be interesting to
Yeah, definitely. We have a setup just like that here at Iola. I would love to have that automated. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Would be excellent.
Okay.
You know,
Good
maybe another thing to consider, Christopher. I don't want to be I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but DVDs are sort of going the way of the dinosaur. I don't know how much you want to invest in it. I mean, you know your patronage best, and if they're the kind of people who are going to use DVDs to the bitter end and never go to Hoopla or something like that, then it's worth the investment. But I mean, we have about half and half. We have half our patrons that would totally dig. Well, okay, not half and half. We would have a lot of people who would use DVDs to the bitter end because of our demographic here, but it's something to consider.
Yeah.
And Overdrive offers video now and things like that. Of course, Overdrive can be very expensive. They invade your user's privacy and things like that. It has its own issues and whatnot.
Mhm.
But physical stuff is kind of going the way of the dinosaur in lieu of network-based solutions and things like that.
Well, I agree with Owen in that it's going to be here for a while. You've got to remember, we've got ebooks and e-audiobooks, but we still have the audiobooks on CD. We have playaways. The physical books aren't going away.
Yeah.
Anytime soon. You've got a good demographic of people that don't have access online. They can't stream, and so even if we provided devices, like we do provide Rokus to patrons. Initially, when we did that, we had a lot of holds on them, but now it's backing off a little bit. I mean, we could provide more movie content through that. I even suggested that we provide more Rokus and maybe even a hotspot to go with them. It's a matter of how much can you throw, how much money can you throw at those things. But the physical stuff isn't going to go away. I'd love to invest more into the streaming stuff so that we have a digital copy of all of our collection, but it's a matter of what the people have access to and what they can utilize, and not everybody can utilize the digital stuff.
Well, I was just saying that, I mean, only you know your patronage better, and you have to decide, is it worth going into, I mean, because SIP is, like, really difficult. I don't like it. But anyway, only you would know, whether it's worth investing that in physical media or just leaving it the same. So, and it depends on how hip, I guess, your patronage is, and how much into DVDs they are.
I've got to go. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jason.
See ya.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. See you guys soon.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Owen was asking, Roku's for use with streaming service offered by the library.
Yeah, that's a clever idea.
Yeah, I mean, we do the Rokus. We have 2 of them right now, and we subscribe to Netflix and Hulu on them, and then put in some of the free content that comes with those as well. But what we also do, any of our DVDs that come with a digital copy, we connect to our Voodoo account, and our Rokus are connected to that Voodoo account, so people can see those digital copies as well, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we pay for the subscriptions to the Netflix and Hulu, and people can't get into those the settings. It's just connected, and if we have something that's disappeared, we're out the price of the device. We can transfer all that over to a new device, which is really nice. So we don't lose any of the content. We just lose a device. We've had one disappear in the couple years that we've done it. The people just disappeared off the face of the planet, but we were able to deactivate the device and continue our accounts on another device. So, which is
Nice.
really nice.
Right on.
So those are great. Right
Mind if I steal that
now,
idea?
those devices only hook up to people that have access to internet Wi-Fi. There's no physical connection to it. We could extend the availability to our patron base if we decided, oh, let's do a hotspot that people can check out as well. What about viewing history associated with the accounts?
Yeah,
Not really worried about it because you don't know who had it last, and it doesn't say specifically who viewed
This
it.
person watched this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I do know you can set it up that way. Because I've seen it before. Like my parents-in-law share a Netflix account with their son or son-in-law or something like that, and so it'll say these are Chris's picks, and then these are Dwayne's picks, and these are Kay's picks.
Yeah, but you have to set it up in the because I
would have to set it up or you'd have to delete something like
we
that.
just point it to one account in the Netflix or one profile in the Netflix, and so if they mess with picks and whatever, who cares? I mean, you can still search for what you're looking for. Stuff. It really doesn't hinder any of that.
I share a Netflix account with my husband, and I do not. His stuff is on his account, under Mike, and my stuff is on mine, and so I no longer get his recommendations because every now and then I'll look at it and go, "What are you watching over there to make that?" So now we're all separate. It's all great. This is up your Netflix recommendations. I would be interested to see some of the Netflix recommendations after it'd been out for a while. I imagine that would be entertaining.
Yeah. You can see what was previously watched, and some of that, it's like, oh boy, I don't know if I want to watch that. I don't know, watching that stuff, but
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you can search for what you're looking for, then it is.
Have you had any problems with people buying stuff?
No, because we lock it down to where you can't do it without a PIN.
Okay.
People can override some of they can connect to their own accounts on the devices if they choose to, but then they run the risk of other people are going to be having access to that and buying these things or whatever. So
my question is, do you have to go through them periodically and turn off or disconnect all those accounts that people forgot to disconnect and stuff?
Once in a while I'll go through it, but I'm not getting anal about it. I'm not going through and say, oh, is it just the way I said it before? I'm not worried about it. If somebody says, oh, it doesn't, I can't find Hulu on it, or it's disconnected, or I've had in the beginning, I had once in a while somebody probably reset the device so that they could use it with their accounts, and so it wasn't connected to anything. I just reset them and sent them on their way, and apologized to the patron that tried to check it out. So that's kind of the risk that goes along with it. But I've also put warnings on the devices, asking people to not reset the device, and I put it on the remote as well. And since I've done that, and I covered up the reset hole on the device itself. Since I've done that, we haven't had nearly as many issues. It's been fairly stress-free. So.
Okay. Awesome.
It is 10:07.
It is.
Or whatever time it is.
Well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.